All right, my friends, here we go. We are now learning, continuing in this beautiful speech that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave in 1991, which this is not long and before he had a stroke which rendered him paralyzed and he couldn't speak. So here the Rebbe is talking about what is the new Torah that's going to be given by Moshiach. It says the Moshiach is going to come, there's going to be a new Torah. Where does it say it's going to be a new Torah? So it says in Isaiah that the Torah is going to come from God. It says talking about the days of the Mashiach. Torah mi'iti tetzah. The Torah will come from me. And there's a midrash that says Torah chadash. It's going to be a new Torah. So the Rebbe explains up to now what is this new Torah that's going to come. And he explains the new Torah is going to be, the new Torah is going to be in two facets. There's going to be deep explanations of the ideas of the Torah. Mysteries and secrets will be revealed to the Jewish people that had never been revealed before. Just like we've learned before. We just finished learning. This world, the world that we're in is miraculous, wonderful, wondrous, the world. Well, how much more so the Torah? And we don't really feel that now. You know, there's all these scientists that work in the world and reveal, new things about atomic power and whatever is, clones, and DNA and things like this. They're going deeper and deeper to understand the physical world, the stars, the nebulae, their life on other planets, other things like this. That's very good. Man should use his abilities. But what about in the Torah, the mysteries of the Torah? There are certain books that reveal it, the Arizal and the Eitz Chaim of the Arizal, and other books, the Zohar, like we said before. There are Kabbalistic books that deal with this, but most of the people have no idea what's written in those books, even if they read it. Right? Even if they read about this, they have absolutely no idea whatsoever. And those people who read the books, I can read those books also, and I have, I understand maybe 1,000th of a percent, and who knows if I understand it correctly. I can explain it, but it's talking about God. I feel God. It's not talking about auto mechanics or something. Well, in the future, there'll be a new Torah, and we will feel and realize those ideas. They'll be as real or more real than auto mechanics or than, DNA and all these wonderful things that are being revealed. Secrets of the Torah. Number one. Number two change is going to be in Mashiach coming, is there's going to be a change in some of the laws of the Torah. But 1 second. It says that the Torah is eternal. The Torah is never going to change. No one can change the Torah. It says a prophet cannot change the Torah. If there comes along a new prophet and he cures all the diseases in the world and he splits the Atlantic Ocean and he brings riches to all mankind and solves all the world's problems, and he says, okay, Jews, you don't have to put on tefillin anymore. The law is supposed to be that you're supposed to kill him. There hasn't been a death penalty in Judaism for over 2,000 years, but that's the law. God definitely does not like this person. Why? What's the problem? Went against the Torah. He told you you can't change the Torah. You can't change the laws of the Torah. And here it says the Mashiach is going to be a great prophet. He'll be a great prophet like Moses, and he'll make up new laws of the Torah. What laws are you going to make? Shalom. כן, למה?
אני צריכה שתשלח לי את זה בדואר.
One minute. So it says there's going to be new laws of the Torah. What new laws there are going to be? So it says there's going to be a battle between this big fish called Leviathan and a big ox, which is called Shura Bar. And they're going to fight, and the fish is going to kill the ox with its fins. And then from the meat, there's going to be a big meal for the tzaddikim. So either we have to say, let's not take this literally. This is obviously a very mystical thing we're talking about. And it is. The fact is it is. It's a very mystical thing. And in Likkutei Torah, a book we're learning in the morning. There's a big mimer about this, about what it means, the ox and the thing. I think it's Parsha Shmini. There's a big ox, how the ox fights with this. What's it going to be? The two different types of tzaddikim and things like that. But the fact of the matter is there's going to be a real ox and a real fish, and they're going to fight, and they're going to slaughter each other, and it's going to make a meal for the tzaddikim. Asks the Gemara, 1 minute, you can't eat that ox. The fish, okay, because fish don't have to be slaughtered. But you can't eat that ox. That ox is slaughtered improperly. You have to slaughter with a smooth, sharp knife. And a fin of a fish is exactly the opposite. Fin of a fish is like a saw. It's all goes up and down, and that's improper. That's an improper slaughtering. You can't slaughter with a thing like that. You can't do it. So how is it going to be? So he says, my friend, we're talking about the days of the Moshiach, when Moshiach comes. And the Moshiach is going to make a new law. It's going to be a new Torah, Torah Chadasha. So the Rebbe says, 1 minute, this doesn't make any sense. What type of a new law? We just finished saying that laws can never change. Even a prophet can never change the laws. How can it be that this? So the Rebbe gives a couple of answers. And one of the answers is that it's not a new law. This law was always there, but it was hidden. Why? Because the situation of a fish fighting against an ox and killing the ox, this situation never existed before. It never existed. There's no law that applies to this situation, whether negatively or positively. And therefore, if it ever, the laws that we have now, you have to slaughter, if you want to slaughter an ox, it has to be a Jew that does it, and it has to be with a smooth, a knife that has to be smooth, it has to be sharp, right? And that's the law. But if it ever happens, it's not written in the law books, but if it ever happens that a big, huge fish comes and fights with a huge ox, then it can be slaughtered with the fins. This law was concealed in the Torah, and no one knew it until Mashiach comes. So the Rebbe is obviously going to ask, that's really what we're waiting for Mashiach for? This is such a big deal to eat this ox that was slaughtered by this. I won't eat the ox. I will eat the ox. That's it. That's what we've been waiting for. It's almost like the same thing with the Jews, getting out of Egypt, suffering for 210 years. And God says, okay, I'm going to tell you for my essence, don't kill. That's it. That's pretty disappointing. Same thing. We're waiting for Mashiach so we can eat this ox. So obviously, it's very important. Something is very important happening here, and this the Rebbe is going to explain what it is, and it's very relevant to us also. Yesh Lubavitcher. We can explain this by first of all explaining. Yeah. Shinoi b'halachot, the laws that are going to be changed in the future, that this is connected to the fact by a higher level of the Torah. What's it mean, higher level of the Torah? The arguments between Bait Shami and Beit Hillel. Now we see a very interesting thing in the Talmud. The whole Talmud is filled with arguments. The whole thing is arguments. Arguments are very, very encouraged in Judaism. Asking questions, arguing, stating your opinion, right? Holding on to your opinion, but listening to the other person's opinion. And that's the way that there's increased knowledge and increased, and you come to the truth. 1 minute, what's this other message? Yeah. That's where you come to the truth. And it can be, a very, emotional arguments and very, people arguing. But in the end, you have to come to the truth. And one of the best examples of this is Shammai and Hillel, or more exactly, the school of Shammai, Bait Shammai, and the school of Hillel, Bait Hillel. And they argued constantly in the Talmud. They're arguing constantly. Especially the whole the tractate called Ediot, where once it ended up that Beit Shammai, they overnumbered, they had the majority, and they passed all these laws. But in any case, they're always arguing, Beit Shammai, Beit Hillel. Generally speaking, the law is not like Beit Shammai, because they didn't have the majority. The law is not like Beit Shammai. So even though that they were sharper, they were sharp, and they were more knowledgeable, Not that Hillel was, the slouches or something like that, but they weren't as sharp as Beit Shammai was. So one of the reasons was that the Beit Shammai, they didn't have the patience. They didn't listen to the other person's opinion. Clearly, they were just so certain of their opinion. Anyways, the law is not like that. In the future, the law will be like Beit Shammai. And it says one of the reasons for it is, and we'll learn about this, the Beit Shammai usually was strict. In all the decisions that they made, they were always strict. They took the stricter opinion. And Beit Hillel was usually lenient. Beit Hillel made a leeway for human, weakness, human faults. You can't expect the ultimate from everybody. So Beit Hillel said, I'm going to be lenient. Let's take a more lenient opinion. It's not lenient that you can do whatever you want to, but a more lenient opinion. Beit Shammai said, no, I expect the ultimate from every human being, from every Jew. You have to be exact. We're not no slouches over. This is the what do you say, the elite, the SEAL, whatever it is, soldiers, and they have to be exact. Everything has to be exact. Says Beit Shammai. I expect the utmost from everybody, and if every Jew doesn't do the utmost, then he's not doing the will of God. And Beit Hillel says, come on, let's be a little bit lenient. And the law is like Beit Hillel. It says in the Gemara, Shlosh Shanim, the 3 years, argued Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel. How these say the law is like them, these say the law is like them. Yotza bat kol, there came out a voice from heaven and said, Elav Elav Divrei Elokim Chai. Said all of these different opinions, they're all the word of the living God. None of them, nobody's wrong. They're all right, they're all godly, they're 100%, but halacha ka Beit Hillel. The law is like Beit Hillel. In other words, I'm not saying that Shammai is wrong, but I'm saying that Hillel is right. The law is like him. It says a voice came out from heaven. You can't do that. Once the Torah is given, it's put into our hands. It doesn't make any difference if a voice comes out from heaven. The Torah is not in heaven. Halacha kabeit Hillel. That what it says. There's a whole story in the Gemara in Baba Metzia, and it says over there that Rabbi Eliezer, that he differed with the wise men, and that everybody disagreed with him, and he disagreed with everybody. And he said, to show you that I'm right, he said, there was a big tree outside. Let that tree get uprooted. And the tree got uprooted. And they said, trees don't understand laws. Trees don't decide laws. He said, we see this big raging river that's outside. Let the river go backwards to show that I'm right. And the river it changed its course. It went backwards, changed its nature. And they said, rivers don't decide laws. And he said, let a voice come out from heaven and say that I'm right. And a voice came out from heaven and said, Rabbi Eliezer is right. And they said, Lo b'shamayim, the Torah is not in heaven, it's on earth. So from there, we know that the Torah is not in heaven. So how can it be that all of a sudden a voice came out from heaven and said that the law is like Beit Hillel, and that decided it? You can't decide laws from heavenly voices. So it says, even though that we don't listen to a voice from heaven, even since the Torah is not in heaven, the Torah was given to us, but nevertheless, Hari halacha, the laws like Beit Hillel, is because that Beit Hillel, they were the majority. And the only reason you had to have a heavenly voice is because the only reason you had to have a heavenly voice is because the Beit Shammai hoya charifi tafei. Because Beit Shammai, they were sharper. They could bring more reasons for their arguments. But Beit Hillel didn't accept all these reasons, and Beit Hillel was the majority, and we go according to the majority. But just so that it would take it out of everybody's heart, so the law is like Beit Hillel. But just to take it out of everybody's heart, that listen, come on, they were the majority, but, is that really the logic of Beit Shammai was really pretty good. Pretty good. So a voice came out from heaven and said, I agree with Beit Hillel that we have to go according to the majority and the laws like them. Kolomar, in other words, Shabbat called this voice that came from heaven, it didn't come. It says, if a voice comes from heaven and it disagrees with the words of the Torah, then you don't listen to it. Why? Because the Torah is not up in heaven. But if this bat call, if this heavenly voice comes to support a Torah law, namely that we go according to the majority, and there might be a little bit of a doubt, so then we'll listen to the voice, the heavenly voice, like Bait Shami, Beit Hillel. Even though this says that we always go after the majority, but the law has to be like Beit Hillel. But because there was a little bit of a doubt, Beit Shammai, and because they were so sharp, so therefore a voice can come out from heaven and just to calm all of anybody's doubts. Let's explain, first of all of the arguments in the Torah, like it says in the Gemara, it says that the words of it's in what is it in Mishlei, right? No, Chagiga, I'm sorry. No, Kahelet. It's a sentence in Ecclesiastes. It's found in the Talmud, right? In the Chagiga, it says, it brings the sentence from Ecclesiastes. The words of the wise men are like nails or something. Bali asufos nitnu moro echad, and they were all given from one shepherd. Elu talmidi the chachamim. These are the wise men that they sit asufos in groups. For oskim betorah, and they argue about the Torah. Halalei matami. These people say impure. These people say pure. These people say it's forbidden. These people say it's permissible. These people disqualify. These people say it is qualified. Shema, maybe you can say, Adam, how can I learn the Torah from now? If it's uncertain, these great men don't. Talmud Torah says, everything was given from one God. One God gave them Parnas Echad, one, provider, said them, Mipi Adon, from one master, everything, blessed be he. Like it says, V'yadaber Elokim is called Dvar Malchut. Like it says, God spoke all of these words. Like it says in the Midrash. Okay, just to make this a little bit clear, when God gave the laws, there were basically the three types of laws. One type of laws that God gave were simple laws that were saying, and they just had to be explained. Other laws that were halacha l'Moshe Sinai, for instance, putting on tefillin and things like that, which are not so simply understood. Then there are laws which God purposely gave unclear. And he gave the principles by which these laws had to be learned, and he wanted there to be arguments. God wanted there, and that's called the commandment of learning Torah. You sit and learn Torah, and you learn these arguments, because all of the people, almost all of them, in the Talmud that gave arguments, they had the ability to raise the dead, all of the Tanaim anyway. They were tremendously holy and pure people. Like it says in the Midrash, on every single word that God spoke, God said there's 49 ways that you can make it impure, and 49 ways you can make it pure. Those are the things that were not certain, that God gave purposely uncertain. So there's 49 ways to learn severe and 49 ways to learn lenient. Omer Moshe, Moses said, Rabboni Shalom, God, Matai Nabon al, how can I know what's clear? You want the Jewish people to do things, not just to argue all the time. Omer Lo, God said, Achri Rabbi Matot, after the majority, you have to go after the majority. Now, after the majority doesn't mean that you can, like stuff the ballot boxes or whatever, just bring in, migrants from somewhere and vote for whoever you want to. These are people that they were tested, they were very great, tremendous Talmud scholars, they were very pure people, they were all very, very holy people. There were tremendously strict criteria that they had to be in order to be a rabbi. And once they passed these criteria, then they could participate in these arguments and they could vote. Rabbo Matamim, but if the majority say impure, then it's impure. If the majority say pure, it's pure. The Torah, according to how it is in Kafi Shem Atzmam, this is the wisdom of God, can be in two ways, opposite. And both of them are true. It says this and this are the words of God. Now you can ask a question, how can this be? So the answer is this is godly wisdom. This is not human wisdom. And how do we decide which it is? According to how the wise men in the Talmud decided. Kadas Arov, according to the majority. Kafi Rosaneim, according to what they saw would fit. The call Davar B'Davar, each and everything on its own. I just want to see where I'm okay. Yes, okay. Bazui, and this is also the explanation about the arguments of Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel, that there's many, many laws that they disagreed on, they argued, and almost all of them, Beit Shammai is severe. There's exceptions. Beit Shammai is severe and Beit Hillel is lenient. Okay, even since, like I said, there's this in Ediot, since that in those things that which there are faces to hear and to hear, as lechumra ulakula, since that God purposely made laws that could be decided either way, either strict or lenient. So therefore, the inclination of Beit Shammai came because it came from the source of their soul, is in one way that Beit Shammai usually looked at everything in a more exact and severe way, and Beit Hillel in a more lenient way. This is what's atzad hashava v'nekuda mishutefet. But the point which unites them and the arguments between them is that you go according to the majority. Achrei Rabbi Mahatos, according to the majority. Now, just because people were in Beit Hillel did not, right, they were the school of Hillel, didn't mean they had to go according to Hillel. They would all get together, they would discuss, and everyone really wanted to know the truth. Beit Shammai, the school of Shammai, they just didn't want that their side should be right. They wanted the truth. And they would take a vote, and it could be that the majority of the people in Beit Hillel would agree with Beit Shammai. It could be. But it rarely came out to be that way, because their souls told them, right, what the way the Hillels, they gravitated to the side of Hillel because their souls were gravitating to the side of being lenient, and Shammai was the side of being severe. But Makom Sheyesh Suffolk, any time that there's a doubt, as even that Beit Shammai is sharper, but nevertheless you go according to the majority. And if there still remains a little bit of doubt after the majority decides, so now you have to have a heavenly voice comes out and it supports the law, which the majority rules. Okay, what's the point of this? What are we talking about? What's this got to do with Mashiach? He calls all this idea that the law is like Beit Shammai, Beit Hillel, until there's even a saying that where Beit Shammai, if they argue with Beit Hillel, is the opinion of Beit Shammai is not considered. And as the law is always like Beit Hillel. That principle that the law is like Beit Hillel, that is only talking about now. But in the future, in the days of the Mashiach, it says the law is going to be like Beit Shammai. Hey, how's the law like Beit Shammai? I thought it goes according to the majority, but they won't have the majority. What's going on? Yesh Lomar can say the explanation is very simple. The Lechiora, Kevan, since the law is like Beit Hillel, and they are the majority, is how can it possibly be that there's going to be a law, the law is going to be like Beit Shammai in the future? Which that's the opposite. We said the Torah says that you have to go into the majority. The law will be, so he says, I'll tell you how. The law is going to be like Beit Shammai. Why? Because after the high court, the Supreme Court, the Sanhedrin in Yerushalayim, they will stand up, they'll consider everything, and they will decide the majority like Beit Shammai. And by means of this, the law will be Psak Din, HaKodem, Yishtana will change the law from what it was Beit Hillel. Since there'll be the opinion of the majority will be like Beit Shammai. Huh? So in other words, the Torah won't be a brand new Torah, so to speak. The people will be new. the people will understand, the wise men will understand more deeply the opinions, and the majority will side with Beit Shammai. But that's why in the future, why will it be that the opinions of the wise men will be like Beit Shammai? Why all of a sudden? Why Beit Hillel? They'll realize Beit Hillel was wrong. Beit Hillel was not wrong. He was right. The law was like him. For all 2,000 years, we've been doing like Beit Hillel. All of a sudden, Mashiach is going to come, and all the wise men are going to, let's think about this again. Ooh, yeah, the law is Beit Shammai. Why? Alpi David Gemara, according to the Beit Gemara, the Talmud says that Beit Shammai, that they were sharper. What does it mean? That they had their quality of the wisdom of the Torah that they had was greater than Beit Hillel. Just like nowadays, the law is not like them because the majority of the wise men of Israel, they go according to Beit Hillel. Like the rabbis say, Shalo kavu halacha Rabbi Meir. Like it says that Rabbi Meir, he was a compatriot of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And he says that he was such a genius that nobody understood what he was saying. That the law was always like Beit Shammai. It says, Modin Chachamim Rabbi Meir. It says that the Chachamim, they always had to, surrender to Rabbi Meir's opinion because they couldn't understand him. But nevertheless, after all, the law is not like him. Why? Because even though that they had to surrender their opinions to him, but they couldn't decide the law according to him because they didn't understand him. And not that he was wrong, which is not the case in the future. It says then the Jewish people, how much more so those people were chosen to be the Sanhedrin, the high court. It says all the Jewish people, their minds will open. Then there'll be the majority of them, maybe all of them, says the Rebbe, perhaps all the Jews, all the Jews will have the wisdom and they'll be sharp in the Torah like Beit Shammai. Therefore, the law will be according to Beit Shammai, because according to the law, Torah law, you have to go according to the majority. So it comes out. Then in the future will be a change in the laws of the Torah. Why? Because people's minds will be more sharp in the ideas of the Torah because of the higher revelation of learning Torah that there'll be. People will understand the secrets of the Torah. They'll understand the godliness of the Torah. And because of that, their minds will change, that they can be more exacting on people like Beit Shammai wanted. By means of this, in the place, instead of the law being like Beit Hillel, because Beit Hillel said we have to, accommodate even people that aren't such in high levels. But the law won't be like Beit Hillel anymore because no one will be at not high level. The law will be like Beit Shammai. Because the al yadein and because of and by means of shitosef chachmat Torah, they'll be increasing the wisdom of the Torah. And so, like Beit Shammai, that they're sharper. Like it says, a yoter shchita, that's it's something like the slaughtering of the ox by means of the fish. It'll be a new thing, a new Torah. Why it'll be a new Torah? Because minds of people will be more open, will see and will understand more deeply the secrets of the commandments, the secrets of the Torah, the secrets of the letters of the Torah. Especially one of the reasons is that all the Jews are going to be in Israel, and Israel makes the person wiser. Be with the tablets, the temple. So in other words, the nature of man, like we said so many times, one of the main purposes of Mashiach is just to reveal the potential of man, to make human beings human beings. And when Mashiach does that, then it'll be the same with the Jews and the wise men of the Jews. And therefore, they'll sit down again and reconsider if the law was like Beit Hillel, and we have to be lenient, and we have to take into consideration people that aren't on such high levels, or the law is like Beit Shammai, that there won't be any people that aren't on high levels. All the Jewish people, their minds will be open. So the law will be like Beit Shammai, as we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. And now let's do the